Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. Barbara, I love that backdrop. Nothing like getting into the festive season. Okay. Oh, I should have asked this before the call. We have Kenny here. Kenny, how do I pronounce your surname?
It's Pappaconstantinou.
Pappaconstantinou.
Yeah,
We have
Pappaconstantinou.
Pappaconstantinou.
You could say it either way.
We have Kenny here.
Yeah, exactly.
Kenny, I first met, I'd already heard of elephant audiobooks and everything, but I first really came across Kenny because I'm a Pro Tools girl. And you guys know that I've gone through, well, you might not know it, but I've mentioned it quite often. I've gone through hoops and ladders trying to get my Pro Tools right because I wanted a nice stack like everyone else seemed to have that would make me sound like, skinny and 20 years old and gorgeous. And everything I did with Pro Tools, it wasn't coming out right. So Jennifer Blom suggested that I contact Kenny, and I did, and he was the loveliest person. He said, I can help you. And this was like last year sometime. And in my eagerness to be this like full-time freelancer, I'm a workaholic and do everything perfectly. I literally flaked for the first time in my entire life. I've never done this to anyone. I realized on like a Friday that I was supposed to have a meeting with Kenny on the Wednesday. And I have issues with like flaky freelancers. They drive me crazy. I pride myself on being type A. So Kenny's had to hear me every time he's ever run into me apologizing profusely because I was so horrified. And everyone loves Kenny, and I want to find out why, never having gotten to have the meeting because of my flakiness. So I want to find out why. I want to find out how, first of all, how you started off, Kenny. Second of all, I'd like to know a little bit more about Elephant Audiobooks and the services you provide, but I want to know what the journey was getting there. And then also, I'd like to not forget towards the end of the call to touch base on best practices and things you wish we knew about working with people that do the production side, because I've had a lot of people coming to me going, oh my God, I'm afraid to start outsourcing. How do you send the files? How do they want to see them? Guys, if you have any questions, as per usual, I will ignore it unless you type the word question in big caps. So type the word question in the chat box and I will, and try to make them quirky. But if you have like production questions, I will make an exception, but please try to sprinkle in some of the what superhero, what's your best favorite candy questions. Those are always the fun ones. Kenny, how did
Yes.
you start out? What did you start off doing? Did you dream of doing this stuff when you were a little boy? Take us back.
So I fell into audiobooks just as a referral from a friend, I guess you'd say. I went to college in Boston at Berklee College of Music doing music production. So I was already on a track to do audio production, music style, but I was a trained audio engineer, and I had a friend who was working at a studio up in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is right on the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border.
Can I ask you,
And
what is music production? Like you're in the studio while the band's playing and you're mixing and everything?
yeah, I mean, it's the same as audiobook production except for music.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the engineer, you're the recording guy, I mean, in
That's
the
why you
beginning
know
I was
Pro Tools, huh? Because they use Pro Tools, all the music people, huh?
yeah, I mean, I've been on Pro Tools since like 1998. I had an
Wow.
M-Box when the M-Box first came out. So that's where I first started getting into engineering, was when I was in high school. I got one of the first, you know, cheap user-friendly Pro Tools interfaces. That was the M-Box. So I started using Pro Tools at like a really, I guess, at an early age, more out of necessity, because I was a musician and was multi-track recording me and my friends in my bedroom.
I was going to ask, were you always on the production side? So what did you play? Did you have an instrument?
Yeah, I played guitar. I also did
Ah,
some vocals, songwriting, some percussion, stuff like that.
Do you still do that at all?
Yeah, actually, I just played I just played out for the first time in like 2 years because of COVID. I
Yeah.
played a Porch Fest festival in Somerville here, which is in essence is a bunch of houses, and it's all people's houses, and they get on a schedule, and the city puts it together, and people who come to watch will come and get the schedule, and we'll see what addresses they can go to at what time, and it sort of S's through the city with the schedule. And I played at my friend's house at, between 4 and 6 p.m. was our slot, and
that
so
is really, that's cool. That's like actually really cool. Was music your first love, or was the production side of it something you're more comfortable with? Or do you just love them both equally and want to be able to do both?
I mean, I consider myself like a musician first. So
it's a prerequisite, isn't it? Because then you have the ear. You have to have an ear, don't you, to do what you do?
Yeah, well, not everybody who's a producer is necessarily a musician. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's definitely helpful. Yeah. And with the way I approached it with, I played trumpet in the 4th grade. So I was from 4th grade on.
Sure.
I was a little marching band kid.
Oh, that's lovely. Because trumpets are massive things, aren't they?
No, trumpet, the small one.
What's the big one?
Tuba.
Oh, I was picturing you behind a tuba.
Oh man, and then trombone with the slide. But no, I played trumpet. Trumpet's like the little high pitched one.
Oh, I love that. Can you tell that I'm not a musician? Yeah, I was one of the. I didn't have that. Like, I know they gave me piano lessons, and I memorized what the letters were and what I was supposed to hit in what order. There was like literally no sense of how this sounds. I was more interested in the teacher's costume jewelry because I knew she had a stash of it, and I was always skiving off. So I think you're born with a love and a musicality, you know what I mean? Everyone's got some of it, but I think some people that's their language.
No, it's true, because I have 3 kids, and my youngest, my daughter, who's 4, is the one who is always walking around she'll sing her whole day. She writes songs about her day, like, I'm outside, I'm in the world. She was doing that the other day. I'm outside in the world. I'm like, what are you singing? But she's always kind of putting a little tune to something. And then my other 2 boys are just like, sort of, I wouldn't say they're non-creative. They're either people who draw or play video games. They do creative stuff on video games.
Funny though, isn't it? Because we assume that you inherit everything, but it amazes me, the nature nurture thing. Sometimes you see people that are just they come into the world like themselves. You know what I mean? Like there's no explanation. I love that. I can see your daughter running around singing 24 hours.
Yeah, if she was here, she'd probably be butting in, because she has a hard time not doing that.
I love that. I do. Okay, so musician, producing, and
so musician, producing. I started working. My friend offered me a job at a studio which did talking books for the Library of Congress.
What was your first thought when you heard of that?
It sounded super boring. I'm like, it's funny, like, and this is a small group, so I don't mind saying this, but like, I've told a lot of people.
But remember, it's going to be on YouTube. I'll edit that.
That's okay. No, that's okay. But people know this about me, and I think my reputation kind of precedes me at this point, so I don't mind saying it. But I'm like the worst book person. I wasn't like a book nerd growing up. I didn't read. I'm not, if you throw out random authors, people who wrote parts of Star Wars, stuff like that. I'm just not a good book person. So to start off a job like that, especially back then when I was kind of partying and being a music rocker guy, was like, all right, this will be good for money. And it was also like almost an hour drive because I was living in Boston and this was up near New Hampshire.
And that's what Barbara says. She says you're a sound person, because that's what you need. You don't necessarily want somebody that's a book person.
Right.
You know, and somebody had a post on Facebook the other day, I think it was Jim Siebert, he asked, and it was an interesting question. He said, would you guys say, I can't quote it because I can't remember, but are you a performer? Are you in it for the performing or for the books? If you had to choose one, which would you choose? And I think like you with the sound, I was like, performer. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I'll
no, it's
always
true.
read books, but you know what I mean? Some of us, and some of the people are like, a lot of people in this industry are introverts, and they're like, you know, I mean, I grew up reading 24 hours a day, but I'm like life of the party. You know what I mean? I'm the girl with the kegger at 4 a.m, so I'm not going to pretend that I was the one quietly thinking in the corner.
No, I mean,
So,
that was definitely me too. So
but
I was more like the guy.
when you started, how was it, a shock or was it different than you expected then?
Well, that job was just a job. It was just, I felt, you know, I was fortunate to be able to go up and work at a studio with a bunch of professional people. It was a shock to get outside of the music realm and sort of get into that world because it was, you know, a lot of people were older. I wasn't used to working with a lot of older people. I was 23 at the time. So even that alone was weird. I came out of college and got this, you know, kind of sort of professional kind of audiobook job to, um, you know, do these talking books, which are text accurate. They have to be, you know, 100% text accurate. And they weren't using Pro Tools. They were using some proprietary program that I don't even know what it's called. So I had to kind of jump in, learn punch and roll with their system.
Wow. Did you learn to like it? Did you kind of get an ear for it, or was it always just kind of, oh, I could do something with this?
Yeah, well, like I said, it was just a series of coincidences that I even started doing audiobooks full time. I got a referral a few years later. So I had also started a music facility in my town called Music Studios of Arlington, which is it's like a band rehearsal complex for so few words. There's some studios and stuff down there, but it's mostly rehearsal spaces for bands. And so I have always had my own physical space down there, my own recording studio.
So
And
you've been
as I
an entrepreneur though. Were your parents entrepreneurs? Like, did they own their own businesses? Because that takes guts to do that when you're that young.
No, they didn't. My mom definitely helped me because my mom's an accountant. She's a CPA. So
Oh,
she was at least somebody who could see the money and see how things are going to work and say, okay, this is how you organize it. But no, my dad works in high tech. He's always had I think he works for IBM right now. He's
okay.
always working for like HP or IBM or one of these kinds of companies.
So it takes guts. Did
He
you,
was
I
also
mean,
the one to tell me though, don't ever work like I do. So I feel like I got it from him.
oh, okay, so that's good. So but were you scared when you opened your own place? Because even just opening studio space, that's your own business. Were you scared when you did that at a young age?
I was insulated from being scared by having a business partner who, you know, he's the guy who owned the building. So
Oh,
I
okay.
had, you know, if it failed, I wasn't going to lose everything. I was just going to walk away and do something else. So in the beginning,
Okay.
I was more hired on to help rent the rooms out and come up with the vision of the business because he knew about the real estate side, but he didn't know how to approach the bands and reach the bands to rent out the rooms, and that's what I did for him.
Isn't this, look at the synchronicity though. All these things are coming together to make you the owner of Elephant Audiobooks and why it's so successful. Because you're award winning. I mean, your books win awards left, right, and center. I'm not wrong,
Yeah, at
am I?
this point, we're trying at this point.
If I was wrong, that would be embarrassing. We would edit
No,
that
no,
out.
we've had a good run recently for sure.
Yeah.
And so then from that point on, so I had a studio. People in this, you know, people in this local area knew that I had done some audiobooks, and I had another studio recommend a client work with me on an audiobook. It would have been a full production, and that turned out to be Gildan Media, who was eventually bought by Recorded Books. They work with Recorded Books now, but back then they were doing quite a few productions, especially in nonfiction, and they started hiring me to do full productions, you know, 1, 2 book at a time every few months.
And I've heard that you're like the author whisperer. I've heard that they can send writers to you to narrate their own books, and somehow you turn it into gold, which we all know. Somebody just jumping in that's a writer and not a narrator, sometimes it's a challenge. And you have a reputation for somehow turning it into gold. So do you think it's because you're good with people, or just you know your stuff so well?
Maybe part of it. I think also just because I got what I started working on were author records. You know, for years that was all I ever did. So I just think by location, being in the Boston area, I get a lot of like academics and high tech people, and you know, there's a whole slew of people that end up coming through my door for that have written books that want to do audiobooks. So yeah, I just think it's more because that's the projects I did in the beginning. And
But without an acting background, you're directing them somehow.
yeah,
So where did you get that skill?
I mean, it's like I tell my crew of editors, I just make it sound good. I don't know. It's the same as a lot of other things.
Also, probably because of all the books you've listened to a million times going through the production process, you've developed the ear for that as well. And there's musicality.
Yeah, now it is. My first book, like I said, I think I've probably gone through over 500 books on my own. So I wasn't a book person originally, but now just by default and going through, you know, I was going through one earlier today. It's like I'm always going through books now. I love books now. It's just my beginning was definitely not in books. That's what I was.
Do you have a favorite genre now?
Yeah, it's weird. I've been liking fantasy books a lot, which is something that I was never super into. I did a couple of fantasy books with like real world magic. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like almost like they're trying to make it as real as possible. You know, it's not like a fake fluffy world where there's like weird stuff. Like it's you and me, but there just happens to be this like ubiquitous like magic that people use.
Oh, that's why I like time travel. And that's why, you know what? It's funny you say that, because those are my favorite, because I love thrillers and horror, but those are all my favorite books. Because
I don't get as many of those. I wish I did.
Oh, I love them. Because I love normal everyday man, right? And then something weird or extraordinary happens to them. But in the meantime, they're putting on like their Mr. Coffee machine. They're getting their bagel in the morning. They're driving to work. And then something weird. I love that, because you can imagine, like one of my favorite was girl wakes up, comes downstairs, and her entire family's missing. Linwood Barclay. Never knows where they went. Just family gone. And then you spend the whole book. I love that kind of, because didn't you watch Twilight Zone when you were a kid?
Yeah, I do remember it, yeah.
Right? It's that kind of normal life. Weird.
I watch the X-Files every night.
I love the X-Files. That kind of, love that kind of stuff.
That was I used to watch it with my parents, because it was like, you know, I was still at home with my parents when X-Files was out.
I love the X-Files. I love the X-Files. And Medium and all that. Like, they live almost normal lives, but the impossible kind of happens. I mean, I like the fairies and fantasies and people with wings and bear shifter things too. I do like them, but I love those. Love those. So would you ever want to narrate? Do you ever get tempted?
No, not at all.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm probably listening to that many books. I think that would put me off, actually. Doing it. So
yeah, I mean, it's time consuming. It would be a whole other thing for me. And
yeah, it's okay. So you help people produce, you help new writers do their own books, the ones that are going to narrate their own books. How did you come up with Elephant Audiobooks? How did it start? Were you scared when you started that? Barbara wants to know, do you have a roster of narrators?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
You might be in trouble now. You know that every single one of us is going to be sending you our stuff.
No, that's not. You know, a lot of what we do now is post-production for major publishers, so we don't cast as many books as we used to, but we definitely do a handful a year. People can email info@elephantaudiobooks.com for
elephantaudiobooks.com.
Yeah.
And let me know tomorrow if you want me to edit that out. I'm not saying that you don't want the 25,000 people that watch the video on YouTube.
No, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay. So Elephant Audiobooks.
Yes.
Where did the idea come from? How'd you get the guts to do it? Were you nervous doing that one, or were you already well-founded and confident? Tell us the story.
No, I was nervous every step along the way. In fact, I guess I don't think I really found what I'd consider like true success up until like 2 or 3 years ago. To be honest, I kind of struggled with it for most of my career, just trying to find a footing and figure out what was going to work. So Elephant Audiobooks was me segueing away from doing music work and audiobooks and really trying to go all in and say, I'm not doing music anymore. This is what I'm doing. And that
I'm
was
going to
around.
sneak a question in. Sorry, I don't mean to cut
Yeah,
you off, but
yeah,
this
yeah.
is a
No,
good time for this question. How did you come up with the name Elephant Audio? Because it is
I
a
got it
cool
from
name.
I got it from a kid's toy from my son. I was looking for like a memorable word name, something that would be everybody would know. So I was just, going around everything in the room, like, oh, this, and I was like, elephant audiobooks. And, oh, that could
Oh,
work.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Okay. So idea, you came up with the idea for, not for the name, for the whole company. How did you come up with the idea? You're
Like I
going to
said,
segue.
it was more just segueing from doing music work to figuring out. I mean, I was making more money doing the audiobook work. Music was a real struggle, so I just kind of consciously made a decision to go all in on audiobooks, and then just keep pushing it, trying to find new clients. At the time, I was trying to do all full production. I hadn't even thought about approaching publishers about work, so it was mostly just independent full productions and just promoting it and kind of grinding it out with as much as I could do.
And you said in the beginning that was a struggle. That was
Yeah,
like,
it was a struggle, definitely. I mean, like Boston area is pretty expensive, so just trying to make enough to survive, I guess.
but sticking to it, because that's what Sean always told us as narrators, sticking to it is like 90% of the job. I might be misquoting him on that, but you know what I mean? I think you
Yeah,
hear that about all businesses as well. Any new business opening up, it's getting through the first few years is the challenge. And then once you do that, and then you started going to publishers. Somebody says, Barbara says, did you have authors coming to you, or did you have to market to them?
I mostly had them coming to me. A lot of
Oh,
referrals through the Gildan Media stuff that I had kind of accumulated, 50 or 60 so titles with various different authors. I started to get referrals through that crew of authors, which was pretty cool. But it wasn't enough. Like I said, I struggled. I went in and out of it. I mean, I got a couple of part-time jobs along the way.
yeah.
I had a little bit of a background in real estate and real estate management too. So I have had 2 jobs in real estate management, which sucks, but I had to do it. never longer than like 12 months.
So then you got to the point that you refined the business, you refined the direction, and you started producing award-winning books. I mean, that's quite something to be proud of. What do you wish we knew? What do you wish people? I had somebody ask me the other day, and I've been outsourced. I mean, I do, depending on the book, I like to be able to master my own. You heard me from my rant on
Yeah.
when I was asking for help. I want to be on top of it. I want to be able to, if whoever I outsource to disappeared tomorrow, still turn around a quality product for my deadline. You know what I mean? To be able to like know what I'm doing. It makes me very uncomfortable not having a clue. But on the other hand, I completely lost my train of thought. On the other hand, this person asked me about outsourcing. They didn't even know, how do I send the files? Do I have to proof it first? Do I have to? And I know it's a little nerve-wracking, and I know for every publisher it's different, but are there any golden rules, things you wish people knew about communication-wise, things that we could do to make your job easier?
Oh man. I think on the technical side, there's a whole laundry list of things that would like to ask narrators to do. But
Oh, yes, please give them to us because we want to know.
You want the technical stuff?
Yeah, we do. We really, really want to know. Throw it at us. Most of us pride ourselves in knowing what we're doing and knowing the back end as well as the front end. So seriously, throw it at us.
Well, things that we see that are pretty jarring is like getting like multiple days of, obviously narrators record over multiple days, but getting multiple days of audio and clearly seeing that there's a different level used on each day. Stuff like that. A lot of what we do with mastering is batch processed, where we'll process the whole audiobook as one piece rather than going chapter to chapter, which takes forever. But when you get a book that's 4 different levels, you actually have to batch process it 4 different times to get them all to meet the specs.
What do you think causes that? Because I mean, do they move
I have
their
no clue,
equipment?
honestly. I ask that question every time. I say, these people record at home studios. They use the same seat, the same levels. I don't know why there's different levels. Maybe sometimes people are sharing studios and there's situations that I don't know about. So maybe that's part of it. But I mean, that's an easy one for me, but that's one that I see a lot where it's every time I see it. And, you have to adjust everything in editing. You have to make sure your room tone is going to match. You can't use the same room tone throughout.
And for those of us that do use stacks, I mean, the stack's no good if the level's different, is it?
It's not going to be good. No, everything's going to get messed up.
Yeah, okay. So note to all of us, don't move your equipment even a fraction of an inch. Keep your face the same distance from the microphone. Make Kenny's life easier. Okay, next. Oh, do you ask for completely raw audio? Somebody says. Yes, right?
Yes and no. It
No?
depends on what the narrator is comfortable sending. I would actually prefer to get mildly processed audio if it means that if you have like a mouth declicker or a de-esser or something that you use all the time, that would be something I'd say, yeah, sure, throw that on there. In terms of like getting the levels up to spec, like the mastering side of the software, limiters and peak limiting and that kind of stuff, that's something that I prefer that I do on my end.
Because you leave it to us and we're going to make ourselves sound like robots with not one breath. Because every single one of us hates breathing.
And more so because you can't undo any of that stuff, but most of it I'm going to do anyways. So, the flip side of that coin, I guess the next tip of what not to do is sending audio that's been way too over processed, because then I can't undo it. And I basically have to just work with what I have.
Do people do that? I mean, do they?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay. Wow.
Not on purpose. I think people are just running what they run, but
or they have it on the front end of their recording, so they're limiting while they're recording.
More, not even the limiting stuff, more like the denoising stuff. And people take like the mouth declickers and the denoises too far, and you can really hear the artifacts in the audio if it's or they do it twice, like they'll denoise it and then denoise it again or something like that. And I can't change that. Once the audio gets to that state, I can't do anything about it.
Okay, so
I guess, yeah.
Sorry. So what else? You said there's lots of stuff
Yeah, I mean, it's all nitty gritty stuff because we take. But
that's what we want to hear. That's because, to be honest, not just for the purposes of this helps us, because the more information we can get from the other end when we're sending things to publishers, different publishers, the more we can get a list of things to double check, makes us look more professional.
Okay, well, numbering files so that when somebody who doesn't know what the project is pulls it into a session, it just cascades numerically. That's a big one for me. I think just because when we're doing post, especially if we're not the one editing it, we're just doing the mastering or the post side. We just don't always have our head in the project the way the narrator does. So if we get like introduction, acknowledgements about the author, like those could be placed in any part of the book. They could be at the beginning, they could be at the end.
But
So
zero
yeah,
zero 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 one zero
yeah, yeah,
zero
yeah.
zero. Yeah.
I end up having to go back and go, yeah, 000 A, 000 B, kind of get stuff fitted in. And it's fine. I mean, it's all stuff that, like, yes, I can master it and in the end figure it out. But like, the less stuff I have to figure out on that side, especially with publisher work, the less stuff I have to figure out, the better. Because you end up having to pull PDFs and look through the script and.
Oh no, see, that's okay. I do have to give myself credit here. I have a spreadsheet and I have the naming convention already there, 001 and then 002 chapter 1. But what I do is I cut and paste that spreadsheet and send the email with the list of what every file's named, so that the engineer has my list that I've worked from and the files all named according to the list. And I would suggest everyone does that, please, because why, if you've already done the work naming your files, why would you want someone else then to have to do that work all over again?
Yeah, that's actually what PRH has us do that on every project. They call it a file name grid. So it's
what's it called?
File name grid.
File name grid. Oh, I like that. I do a file.
Just a good idea. I mean, now you think about it, and you're like, well, that's why they do it, is because they want that straight from the source. Like, what's this supposed to be called?
Exactly. And I mean, also because I'm just a bit of a weirdo that's obsessed with spreadsheets, but I like file name grid better. I'm professional. Okay, so communication, sending the files. What about deadlines? How are narrators at meeting your deadlines? That ever a problem?
No, it's never a problem with narrators. No.
Good. I like that. That's good to hear. You're not being sarcastic, are you?
No. It's never deadlines are never a problem. If anything, it's me. It's us on the editing side who need more time. But we usually get everything read on time. Couple hiccups here and there from people, but it's not anything worth saying. It's one-offs.
So what else? What about pickups? Do you guys do proofing on your side?
Yep.
And then, so this is a big question that comes up all the time. Somebody asked on the APA webcast, they asked one of the publishing companies, and then everyone like worried about the answer. I think the question was, don't worry once if it's too many, because everyone wants to know how many pickups is too many. What if I had this, and I always feel like it's going to differ depending on the book. I mean, it's always going to be different.
Totally.
And that, am I right that you guys are used to a lot of pickups? You're not going, oh my God, this is the worst narrator on earth. Or maybe if it's like 3,000 pickups, you are going, this is the worst narrator on earth. Or, I mean, what are pickups like on your side? Are you grumbling, calling us names under your breath? Or are you just like...
No, we could care less. I mean, that's what we do. Yeah, it's, some people will have, I mean, honestly, sometimes I'll be editing through a book and in my head, I'll think, oh, this narrator pre-proofed this, because you can tell they have, 10 pickups for a 10-hour book. And you're like, how is that even possible? But as you're listening, you're like, okay, it almost sounds like, and there's a lot of difficult stuff too. So it's not like they just didn't make mistakes, but they may have a process of pre-listening and, pre-proofing is what I call it. Not everybody does it or even has to do it, but you can definitely tell. I've also done books, really difficult history books where, we got like 350, 400 pickups for like a 10-hour book. That's not common, but if it happens, it's not, we never look at it like, oh, this person was horrible.
Yeah. That's what I think too. And also, it depends. I don't know why and I'm not saying it's the quality. I mean, sometimes it is the quality of the writing, but I think sometimes some writers don't speak the way you speak. So they're very good writers, but if it's not the way you normally speak, you subconsciously transcribe their words, right? So sometimes, and sometimes you get them that the ones that are like so easy. I have those sent it off to publishers and had them come back saying no pickups. And I've been kind of like, really? Are you sure? Did you proof it?
I know
But
no pickups it's tough to have no pickups.
right.
Whenever I see a no pickup from one of my editors, I end up asking them ahead of time, like, okay, are you sure? Was there anything that could have been improved on this even a little bit? Because there's always like a little bit of a room for, and nothing's perfect. I feel
I
like
know.
if you're not getting pickups because of text errors, then maybe you should take it up a notch and like do some creative direction, because there's always going to be something that you might say, oh, that was a little stumbly, where you may not note it if the whole project was maybe more of a train wreck. But if it's a perfect read and all of a sudden you get a little stumble, you're like, okay, I could mark that and tell them, what's it going to matter if I give them 5 pickups as opposed to 0?
And I think that's what it is. I think we're all secretly hoping for like 8 pickups. That's like the
Yeah.
kind of the magic number, 8 to 15 pickups for the book. And that we kind of want that. And then any more, we're like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm horrible. What was wrong with me? I can't do this. I'm the worst narrator. But then anything less, you're like, wait a minute, did they proof this?
Yeah, I mean, pickups is part of it, so I'd tell people not to worry about it. You have 50 or 100 pickups, it's fine. I mean, it's 8 to 15 is like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. Quirky question time. You get one song to listen to for the rest of your life. What is it?
Oh. That's hard. I don't like to pick favorites, so that's a hard one. Can I pick an album maybe?
Yeah.
Like I'd listen to
We'll let it. Yeah. Well, Barbara
I'd
said
listen
she
to the
can't pick
Beatles'
enough.
Abbey Road forever.
Oh, that good choice. Because anything else you'd chosen, you would have regretted losing the Beatles. That's a good one. That's a very good one. So do you have any dark nights of the soul? I mean, do you have any like, it sounds like you're really happy in what you do. It's very rare to meet somebody that's worked really hard to get where they are. They're in a good place. And what a good example you're going to be for your kids, that you're like
Trying.
calm and happy in what you do and everything. Are there things that you beat yourself up for, thinking, oh God, I've got to get better at this. I drink too much coffee, stay up till 3 a.m. watching Netflix. Maybe that's just me. But anything like that, any major life improvements you'd like to achieve in the next like 5-10 years?
Maybe being less like work obsessed.
But you enjoy it, huh? I
I
don't get it
enjoy
from a
it, yeah, but
desperate way.
it can get in the way. I mean, it goes through the weekends on most weekends. So finding a balance there to not always have like, a deadline in the back of my head of like,
Yeah.
a Sunday night. That's partially my clients sometimes give me deadlines that don't make sense, like Sunday night deadlines for a project that you got on a Thursday and, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, if anything, just being more connected to like personal life rather than my work life.
That's a challenge. Isn't it a challenge? And do you
It
find
is, because this stuff's easy for me. I mean, like honestly, the work stuff's easy for me. It's like personal life stuff is hard.
but the thing is, you've got kids as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I find if they say take time off, right? They say it's fun. They say do it. It'll be good for you. You'll enjoy it. And then I do it. And my brain is like, what are you doing? You're missing this and you're missing that. And all that work you've done, you're going to blow it out. It's hard when you know there's work waiting on the other side, but I know it's necessary. And if you've got kids, that's got to be like, because they're not going to understand. You know what I mean? You want to spend time with them as well. But oh God, what an example, having a dad that's like, look, kids, you build something you love and you work really hard on it and it makes you happy. That's like a gift. That's like no other gift a parent can give their kid. Don't you think?
Thanks.
They're going to grow up confident and like secure and safe in the world, knowing that they can like build something themselves that they're happy with and proud of. That's quite something. I think that's amazing. They're not going to be screwed up like the rest of us adults. Wait until we're 40 to figure it out.
Well, we'll see.
There are many other ways in the world, but still, that's quite something. So I've got another quirky question. See, they're a little too into Halloween at this point, I think.
Okay.
What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Like spooky scary or like scary scary?
Doesn't matter. We're going for high drama here. I think I've trained the audience too well. We used to get questions like, what's your favorite genre? Now they're blowing me out of the water with questions.
I mean, I got in a car accident when I was like 17, and I think if I had been like 2 feet in a different direction, I probably wouldn't have walked away from it. So
Wow.
that was kind of scary. So I think about that a lot.
Wow. Did that change? Did that change you, like as a person, like afterwards, or were you still 17?
Not back then. No, I was still 17. I mean, I remember the cars smashed, and we both went into opposite ends of the street. It was a head-on collision, but because they had been doing paving on the road at the time. So when they pave the road, you know how they chew it up before they put the pavement down?
Yeah.
It's all bumpy for a little bit. I was driving with like 2 tires up on the part that wasn't bumpy. I was on like a rural road back where I grew up. So I was like basically in the middle of the street, and a car came down and across like a T intersection and blew a stop sign. And so they would have been head on with me if I had been in the lane fully. But since I was over a little bit, they hit my passenger side, and the dash went all the way up to the passenger seat. Like the seat and the dash were touching.
Did you have injuries?
No, just like whiplash. The other guy had injuries. He smashed his face on the glass.
My sister
I hit
had
my head
that
on the
happen.
steering wheel too. I shouldn't say that. I everything came forward, so I hit my head on the steering wheel, and then I had just like standard like whiplash injuries.
Did you get depressed afterwards? Because my sister had a car accident, quite a bad one, when she was 17, and she got very depressed afterwards, I remember. And I think maybe the shock and the adrenaline did something like to her system. Like she had a really hard time her last year in school. I'm probably going to mention to her that I put this on YouTube, but yeah, her last year in school, she had a hard time after having been through that.
I think I was fine at the time. I was delivering pizzas when it happened. So I went on, I got another car and I went on delivering pizzas. So
seriously, you're like a little, I think you might be like completely the opposite of like me. You're like the most laid back person. Have you always been this laid back and just like calm?
I guess, yeah, I don't know.
Right there is the answer.
No, not always. No, I've been through I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. So I think I'm at a point right now where I'm just trying to find a balance between being laid back and feeling crazy.
But I think that the way you are is a gift. That's why everyone's reaction when I said we're having Kenny on the call was, he's lovely, he's the nicest man, he's wonderful. It's like, because we all want that perspective on life, right? And a lot of us are having a really hard time finding it. So
yeah, well, me too, believe me. Hasn't been easy for me either, but this is good. Getting me out of the studio like this is heaven for me. I'm in my these guys didn't hear me say this, but I'm in my home office here. I decided to leave my studio and get a better background because I was like, I gotta get out of that place. It's at least I have a window here, see.
It's good though, isn't it, to have a demarcation, like this is where work goes.
Yes.
This is where, yeah, you know what I mean? I think it's good. Yeah. And taking walks. And are you good with that? Do you take time to exercise and take care of yourself as well?
I'll walk to like go get a sandwich or
So you're about as good as I am.
A coffee or something, but I try my best. My kids keep me moving, but COVID's had us a little bit,
Yeah.
dormant for a few years, but we try our best. In the summer, we do better. We go through summer winter phases. In the summer, our family, we're fortunate that somebody in our family has a summer house down in the South Shore of Massachusetts. So we go down there every weekend. And then in the winter, we try to snowboard as much as we can. And my whole family, including my 4-year-old daughter, we all snowboard.
Well, that's lovely. That's idyllic. That the summer house. How long do you get to spend at the summer house?
As much as we want. It's my wife's parents now. They got it down from her grandfather. So as much as we want. Usually I spend at least 2 weeks in August. This August we took almost all of August off. So in terms of finding
wonderful.
In terms of finding personal time, like we're trying the best we can. My wife also runs her own business, and she's also an instructor at Harvard, and she does a bunch of other things. So we both, make a point in August, and also because of New England, New England weather cycles, August tends to be the best. So we took 2 weeks and we went to the West Coast this year with our whole family, and then we spent a week or two down at that summer house. So we try our best, but it comes in waves.
But you know what? That's good. I think so. I wouldn't feel bad at all about working weekends, because
I know.
They're seeing we work really, really hard a lot of the time, and then we go out and do these amazing things. That's like the perfect childhood.
We try to tell them that they can be a little spoiled by it sometimes. Like, I don't want to go there again.
Are they teenagers yet?
Yeah, my oldest, who's actually my stepson, but he's my son. He's 17. Then I have a 12-year-old and a 4-year-old.
So 17, is that the stage yet where you're the stupidest person on earth and don't know anything? And
I mean, definitely. He's nice to us. He's probably nicer than some teenagers, but we definitely get into we're doing college searching stuff now, so it's a bit of a battle of putting a good effort into finding the right college to go to.
Because they're asserting independence. Which another quirky question. Do you have pets? And if so, what?
I have a dog named Tasha. She's like a orange, brownish mutt, like a southern rescue dog. She's like 75 pounds.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big pet person. Okay, so and the comment was from Barbara, with the holidays, the snowboarding, and gives your daughter some material for her songs.
Yeah. That's true.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with the final thing that I hit all the guests with. So those time capsules they did in school. Can you tell we never got to do one, which is why I do it on every show here. And Sean gave me the idea. Did you do one as time capsule? What did you put in?
I got a letter from myself from I forget what year, but it might have been 96 or 94 or something. We got him at when we graduated high school. That's
really cool. Have you heard of Future Me?
No, sounds familiar, but no, I can't place it.
It's the coolest thing on earth, and you've just reminded me of it. And I've done it quite a few times, but I haven't done it in a few years. It's really cool. You send yourself an email, right, to Future Me. You can make it public so you can read other people's emails, or you can make it private, and you date it for whatever date you want to get it. So I've sent myself emails and received it 3 years later. Hi, Future Me. Oh, wow. How are you? I hope you finally fixed this and this. And it really is kind of a trip, because if you make it far enough out, you forget that you've done it. It's actually, okay, time capsule.
Yeah, I would totally forget.
Yeah, you forget, and it's so cool. It's like getting an email from yourself. So you're going to put something in a time capsule, and it's going to be something you want to leave us all with, so that the people opening the time capsule on YouTube in 60, 70 years will hear final words from Kenny. What would you like to leave us with? Philosophy, work philosophy, funny jokes, anything. What would you like to, in a nutshell, leave all the YouTube viewers with?
Oh man. Well, if it was a physical time capsule, I don't know, it's kind of cheesy, but it would probably be like pictures of my kids, my wife, like just kind of like pictures of us being happy, I guess.
I
Because
love
that's kind of
that.
what I live for at this point.
Family.
Yeah.
I think the last few years has given us all a good appreciation for whatever family means for us. Do you know what I mean? It takes different forms, but it makes us happy. Barbara says, does your son have an opinion of the college to attend?
Oh, so he's got like 50 he wants to attend, so it's hard to.
Oh, that's lovely. But at least he wants to attend. It could be the other direction.
Well, I mean, who knows? He's also talking about like traveling and gap year, and his mom did something like that. So I'm a little, not that I'm opposed to it, but I'm like, you may not ever end up going. And she's very like, go do it, see the world. So we'll see what happens. But I
Are
think
you
he should.
this?
I definitely think he should go.
Are you strict, or are you like less strict?
I'm not very strict. No, I'm like the big pushover in my family.
And your wife gets to say no.
She's not very strict either, but she always says she says I'm the pushover. And then when I get aggravated because the kids are bothering me too much, she'll be like, well, you let them. So that's what happens. And I'm just like, I guess I'm fine with that then. I'd rather have that than them not want to be around me.
I can't say, because my husband and I have deep philosophical debates on how to raise our pet bird. So I really can't. I think if we had kids. Barbara, I've got a question. So Barbara's brother skipped a year and hitchhiked in Europe.
Nice.
Did he turn out okay? Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, my wife skipped a year because she was kind of younger, and when she graduated, she has a November birthday. So when she graduated high school, she was still 17. By September, she was still 17. So I think she just thought, like, I'll take another year, and when I go to college, I'll be the same age as everybody else, or a little bit older, I guess. But
I wish I'd done that. Do you wish you'd done that? I kind of wish I'd done that. I wish I was the
no,
cool girl.
I never would have ended up going to college knowing me back then. I
Yes,
would have
yeah,
been
probably.
gone. I would have been out of here.
Yeah, I was a bit, yeah, my eye was not on the degrees at the time, I got to
No,
tell you.
I was prone to a lot of bad behavior back then too, so it wouldn't have been good. Having college was good to like ground me. At least I had classes I needed to. I was a little bit of an elitist when it came to school, so I at least tried to get really good grades and partied in between. But I had my boundaries around doing well.
I love that. Do you think that came from your parents?
Yeah, I think so. My parents kind of grew up in poverty, and they became really successful themselves. So I think I didn't want to waste their money. I think that was one of the biggest things, was it was really financially motivated. Like, okay, I'm going to a private college, 30, 40,000 a year, whatever it was back in the day, and apartment in Boston, all the food and all that stuff. And they were putting a lot of effort and money and effort into me. So I didn't want to waste it. Even
I
though I
love
still
that.
wanted to do my thing, I still was like, okay, I respect them enough to not like fail out like a lot of people I knew did.
Because a lot of people did. I mean, a lot of people just, it's like their brains weren't attached. You know what I mean? I remember, yeah, that was, yeah. It was a miracle that I got good grades. It
Me
was a
too.
miracle.
It was good that I went to a music college, and I was just into all the material, that to the point where I did all my roommates' homework just because I was good at doing that kind of stuff. But if I had gone to like an engineering school and I had to do, math and things like that, I would have been probably failing out like
But
everybody else.
that was my thing with school, though. I actually got called in quite a few times by counselors saying you can't just do the classes you like and not show up to the classes you don't like. But they've got all these classes of like boring things that they wanted us to get good grades on. Meanwhile, there's all these tempting, amazing things to learn. And they want us to show up and, you know, do math, which is probably my problem with sound at this point. Who knew? You do.
I'm not good at math either, so I'm just good with computers. I think that's why I got good at doing sound engineering.
My thing is the minus. The minute they start talking minus 30, I need your level to be up to minus this. Well, what do you mean up to? Do you mean minus that minus or plus up to? Like if you're calling higher lower, then you tell me you want it to be higher than lower. Do you mean your higher or my higher?
I never even thought about that. That's just like
it freaks me out. And it
is a little weird, but
yeah, you can play mind games. You can go down a rabbit hole on that one, I'm telling you. So Kenny, this has been a pure joy. So someday, can I please pay you to have a look at my Pro Tools again?
Yeah, I told you don't even have to pay me. Just let me look at it. Find the
I
time
felt
that I can actually do.
guilty about that day I stood you up. Like never stood anyone
That's
up.
fine. You know what? I've so much going on. I probably had it as an afterthought, and then it didn't happen, and I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. So
yeah, I literally, like, I've got my life on a schedule. I literally didn't know what day of the week it was. It wasn't.
That's good.
I
I don't have my life on a schedule, so we met up at the right point, because when it didn't happen, I was like, okay, well, on to the next thing for me. There's always something going on. So
yeah, somebody told me that about another engineer today. They said they deal with so many new people that they don't even pay attention. They just, you know, they meet them and then half the people don't show up again. And they can't afford to, because engineers in this business are very busy, aren't you? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I am. I don't know about everyone else, but
I think it's a very busy job because we're desperate. You know, we need what you guys offer. We can't do our jobs without you. You make us sound good. I mean, if it weren't for you guys, Audible would be full of really bad sounding audiobooks.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time, Kenny. I'm so glad I got the chance to meet you properly. Now I get it. You're like literally the loveliest person on earth.
Thanks.
So it's been wonderful. And thank you very much. In about 2 weeks, I'll have the video up, and it's been fabulous. So, and
Perfect.
every single one of us is going to be applying for Elephant Audiobooks. You do know that.
That's all right. You'll either get an email from me or from Jack back just saying that we got your email, and we'll put you on our list. We try to keep new people sort of towards the top of the list too, just so we always look for new narrators on projects. We don't always want to be going to the same names that everybody uses.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. Oh, now you'll really have us all applying. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks, you guys, and thanks for the quirky questions.
Yeah, thanks for the questions.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Kenny. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.